Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. This is Michael Vass, Dragon of the Southern Tier, and I'm happy to be here with you again once today. Guys, it's Saturday. This is September, 14th now, and I want to take a moment to just talk with you guys. I got a few moments here. And what's the big news out there? Nick Canon. Nick Canon is the big news. And I don't know how many times in the last couple of days I've been asked, did you see what's going on with Nick Canon? And the answer is no. I have absolutely no idea what's going on with Nick Canon. I could care less about Nick Canon, whoever he is. I don't care what he does. And you know why? Nick Canon is not in politics. He's not going to help figure out whether I'm going to make more money in my paycheck. He's not going to make sure that you get to have a better job or that you get to start the small business that you want to have. So who is Nick Canon? I could care less. I don't know, and it doesn't mean anything to me. He's not a personal friend of mine, so there you go. Now, with that diatribe out the way, so that I hope no one else asks me about that, what do I care about, and what is something that's going to affect you and me both? What's going to affect how much money we're going to make? What's going to affect our jobs, the ability to have a small business, affecting our kids and our families going forward for the next 2-3 decades? The impeachment. That's what I really pay attention to. That's what I'm really concerned about. And I think that we found that after we've been going through this since April of 2016, according to Politico. Yeah, April of 2016, before the election actually happened in 2016, we have heard Democrats call to impeach President Trump. They've been looking for any reason they could possibly find to do that, and every time they've gone, they have failed. They said that there was collusion. There is none. They said there was bribery. There is none. They said there was extortion. There is none. So they finally went forward and they said, we're going to go and impeach the president. That's what the Democrats want to do. This is partisan, completely and purely partisan. And they said they're going to go forward and they're going to do this. Okay, so what are the repercussions of this? What does this mean? And I'm going to use a couple of examples here as we go through. One of the biggest things that we have to understand in the vote that's coming up right now, there are no winners and only losers for the Democratic Party. And I say that specifically because, one, we know that since October, I think there's been 5 different polls that have come out, and the American public, somewhere between 45 and 54% of Americans don't agree with the impeachment. Now, that's because 2020 is an election year. That's because the case has not been made that there has been a high crime. The fact that every time Democrats have told us there is a reason for this, it has turned out to be false. Adam Schiff has come out in 2007, guaranteeing, 2016, 2017, guaranteed that he had evidence of collusion, never provided it to the public. Guaranteed us that there were witnesses that would prove that there was bribery, extortion. Never happened. So we're tired of this as a public. There's no true high crime that should be coalescing the public behind this. This is purely partisan and political. So one of the things we're going to see is that Democrats are going to lose, in particular moderate Democrats, which I believe are the rank and file Democrats across the nation. Not the progressives, not the far left, not the Democratic leaders like Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer. No, we're talking about real Democrats. People walking down the street. They lose. They are the biggest losers in this, because by having the impeachment and requiring a vote, every single Democrat out there, even if they call themselves a blue dog Democrat, like say Anthony Brindisi of the New York 22nd District, they have to vote. And they're going to have a vote that defines them, that either sets them as a progressive radical who is willing to impeach a president based on partisan politics, or they're going to go with the will of their people, which means they're not going to get any funding. And actually brings me to the second point. The candidates, the members of Congress right now, they lose massively. Again, I go back to Representative Anthony Brindisi of the New York 22nd District, who I've known personally for 7 years, who is the representative in my district. Anthony Brindisi is known. He's already come out. It's already been reported in New York Post, Times, that he and 9 other members of Congress, they're in districts that are Republican districts. My district in New York 22 is an R+6. which means there's 6% more Republicans than Democrats. And he's in a bad spot. He knows that if he has to go and make a vote, and if he votes party line, he is going to lose at least $2 million in funding instantly. He is going to enrage the far left. And this is going to be a problem for him. So what is he going to do? How does he get around this? Well, his answer is him and 9 other of the congressional Democrats who claim to be moderates have said, let's go with censure. Don't impeach the president. Let's censure him. Let's wave the white flag. Let's give up, admit that they lost, that this has failed, and take the lesser course. Say they've got censure, claim that there's a victory in that, and try and preserve both his campaign financing as well as keeping the moderates and the radical left together. This is a failed policy because it won't work. I mean, it's very apparent and very obvious that if he votes yes, he will get the progressives, he will get the Democratic Socialists to back him, just as they are. And we've seen that they have been getting very, very vocal, not just in Portland, but again, here in Binghamton, where the progressives actively have organized. They have sent out emails. We have seen their text and tweets, which I have covered before, where they are actively creating mobs to attack individuals that don't believe what they believe. So Anthony Brindisi's stuck. If he's siding with them, and this is why he hasn't spoken about the riots over at Binghamton University, he doesn't dare offend the Democratic Socialists, the progressives, because he's afraid of them turning on him. And they have publicly said that if he votes no on the impeachment, that there isn't enough evidence of a high crime, and if he votes no, that they will deny him funding. That's $2 million that he will lose, and they're going to have a primary and put up a radical Democratic Socialist candidate to go against him in his election. Now, this is very important for many of those moderate Democrats, those supposed moderate Democrats, and Anthony Brindisi. He's in a top 3 race in the United States for Congress in 2020. He only won in 2018 by 2,000 votes. This is as close of a race as you can see, and it cost $20 million in 2016 for him to just eke out a win. Now he has to go, and he's losing his far left base. He's losing $2 million that he desperately needs to promote himself. He has and most of these Democrats have nothing to point to. There are no bills that they have passed that actually the American public support. And in Anthony Brindisi's case in particular, he says he wanted to lower the cable bills, and since the day he said he's going to lower the cable bills, the cable bill prices have gone up twice. He needs impeachment to go away. So that brings me to my third point. When he votes, and he will vote in favor of impeachment, that's a foregone conclusion. He wants the money. He's afraid of the far left. He's afraid of the Democratic Socialists that he needs to get elected with, who supported him and were his main his core base of support. When we look at what's going to happen going forward of 2020, we're going to see that every single president is now going to be terrified. We have a precedent that is going to be set by this impeachment, saying that every president, when they do international policy, they're stuck, because that's going to be dictated by the political environment at that time. And you're going to see every president will now be liable for impeachment for having international policy, which by the Constitution is the sole responsibility of the president, not the Congress, not the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. That's only the president's job. And he will no longer be able to do that job, he or she will no longer be able to do that job, because Congress will impeach them if they do. That's what we have now established. That's the precedent that has been set. And if you think that Republicans will not use this precedent set by Democrats to come back against another Democratic president, then you have not been following politics for the last 30 years, even casually. And that actually brings us our fourth point. what we're going to see is partisanship has grown massively. We're going to see a massive political divide, not just Democrats versus Republicans, but the factions within the parties, in particular with the Democratic Party, where you have progressives and Democratic Socialists totally separate of the moderate main group of Democrats across this nation. And they're going to see a sea change there. You're seeing a divide that says, if you're not this ideology, then there's a problem. If your candidate isn't this ideology, there's going to be a problem. And with the extremists, in particular, groups like Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, otherwise known as PLOT, Indivisible New York, Citizen Action, Antifa, these are the radicals who are making the most noise. These are the people who are coming out in mobs of 200 versus 3 because they don't like someone even suggesting an idea that they don't like. These are the people who are demanding that the government must micromanage every aspect of your life, kind of like Mike Bloomberg, who says you can't have salt on your table because you're not smart enough not to use it, that you're not smart enough to be offered a soda of 32 ounces because you're not smart enough not to drink it, that it's a good thing to tax the poor because that will force them to do what he wants. That's the ideology of the progressives, of the Democratic Socialists. That's what's going to become the norm. And if you don't agree with that, then you will be attacked over and over and over again. This is not good for America. Yes, we need to have the impeachment vote. Now that they called it, we have to have it. And we're going to see that in the House, it's going to pass. It'll go to the Senate, and it will fail. And President Trump will call a victory. Democrats will lose their mind. They will cry again, just like they did in 2016, right after they found out Hillary lost. They're going to scream. They're going to say that this is corrupt. And America will not advance. The bills that we need will not advance. The USMCA, the redone NAFTA deal that was critical to this nation, that will help increase jobs, to maintain profits, to help people grow and have better lives because we have a better, more fair deal with Canada and Mexico. That deal that was done a year ago by President Trump, being the non-traditional president that he is, which is good and bad, finally got passed. The House has finally let it go, and they're trying to claim that it's their idea. It isn't. It was already done. It was done by the president that they're trying to impeach. But how many Americans were negatively impacted by wasting time on the impeachment rather than doing the trade deal? If you think that was bad, wait till you see what happens in 2020. It will get worse. And you're going to see Republicans, if a Democrat wins, whether it's 2020 or 2024, they're going to use everything that Democrats have established against the next president, and it keeps going. The dominoes keep falling. Folks, these are problems. Impeachment is the issue. Nick Canon, I don't know who he is. I don't care, because Nick Canon is not going to determine who's going to have jobs for the next 4 to 8 years. He's not going to determine whether or not you're going to have higher taxes. And remember, all the Democrats right now are saying that you're going to have higher taxes. They keep promising you that the world's going to end unless they get more of your money to spend on people who aren't making money. That's a problem. They are telling us that they need to have more control over your life on how you think and how you speak so that they can tell you what's the right thing to do. That's a problem. And Nick Canon, whether he's having whatever issue he's having or not, doesn't really matter, because in 4, maybe 8 years, it's quite possible that Nick Canon can't speak at all, or anyone who has an idea about what's going on with Nick Canon won't be allowed to speak because of the repercussions from the impeachment. So I tell you, if you don't know what's going on, pay attention, find out, watch what your representative in Congress is going to do. The votes are already determined. We already understand exactly how people are going to vote. Representative Brindisi has always been a yes vote for impeachment. He has always been in favor of this. He has always been And I know he comes out and says, well, I haven't decided. All the evidence is, I have to see the evidence. The evidence has been out there for the public since the day President Trump got elected. We've known everything that we need to know. He knows. He just doesn't want to tell you because he wants money. And he wants to be reelected. And he knows if he tells people, he's going to lose votes, no matter how it turns out. But whose votes he loses? That's the question. Well, folks, I got to go. So let me look forward to seeing your answers, your comments, your thoughts, and tell me how you think about it. I'll talk to you soon.